Hey everybody, welcome back. I got some sun right in my eyeball here. It's in my eye. Anyways, put my hand right there. Let's see. All right, so we're in chapter 2, right after the water was turned to wine, grape juice, not your whatever your Chardonnay or whichever you would like, but grape juice, pure grape juice. Pure fruit of the vine. We don't know exactly what kind of juice it was, but it would have been something he created, not a fermentation. Verse 12 of chapter 2. After this, he went down to Capernaum, he and his mother and his brethren and his disciples, and they continued there not many days. So the whole family, the whole crew, travels to Capernaum. And the Jews' Passover was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. And the phrasing on that's kind of interesting too, because at this point, just with tradition and just following the rules and kind of getting away from God, the Pharisees, the rulers, we have established this religion and how we serve God. And so it's interesting that it's in verse 13, it's not God's Passover, but the Jews' Passover. And part of the reason for that could be John being written to, just the world that doesn't have a Jewish audience. It has more of a Gentile audience, that you would have that descriptor to say, well, Passover, what in the world is Passover? And so this describes, hey, it's a Jewish custom, and it just makes it a little bit easier. So you could look at a couple different ways there. Verse 14. And so Jesus went up to Jerusalem, verse 14, and found in the temple those that sold oxen and sheep and doves and the changers of money sitting. And when he had made a scourge of small cords, he drove them all out of the temple, and the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changers of money and overthrew the tables. So here we got angry Jesus. We got hellfire and brimstone Jesus. He's throwing out. Continue. And he said unto them that sold doves, take these things hence, make not my Father's house a house of merchandise. And it's pretty crazy that it's right here in the temple, on the temple grounds. And this, more than likely, if I remember correctly, would have been the third temple, I think. The third temple? Second or third temple, because first one, Solomon's temple destroyed. Then they're gone for 70 years. So this is either second or third temple. I'm not totally sure. It might have been described as Herod's temple. But fact check me on that. Let me know. And when he had made a scourge of small cords, we read that. Verse 17, and his disciples remembered that it was written, the zeal of thine house hath eaten me up. And that's interesting too, that... Sorry, I had to pause there. That's interesting too, because sometimes we can look at the disciples and think, oh man, they're just dumb hicks from the sticks with all their fishing and their manual labor. They're just dumb. But it's interesting. We had, all the way Philip back here in chapter 1 understanding that Jesus was the fulfillment of the law and the prophets. And here we have the disciples as a whole remembering the zeal of thine house hath eaten me up. And let me look at that cross reference there. That is a psalm. That is Psalm 69, 7, 9. Verses 7 and 9. Excuse me. Got a yawn. All right. 69. Psalm 69. Where are you? All right. And that was 709. Here we go. All right. Because for thy sake I have borne reproach, shame hath covered my face. I am become a stranger unto my brethren, and an alien unto my mother's children. For the zeal of thine house hath eaten me up, and the reproaches of them that reproach thee are fallen upon me. And look at that. I mean, you tie those two verses together, and this covers a couple of areas. Jesus quoting scripture of himself, fulfilling scripture of himself. But also, I am become a stranger unto my brethren. Okay, we could look at that and say, well, the people and nation of Israel, that would be his brethren. But this also attacks or contradicts the idea of Mary being a perpetual virgin as the Catholic Church teaches. So he has become a stranger unto my brethren, it says, and an alien unto my mother's children. Well, Mary had not known a man until Jesus. Well, until after Jesus. I'm sorry. So it says here, and an alien unto my mother's children. So it's Jesus's mother, her children. So if we match scripture together, Mary was not a perpetual virgin. I don't know, it's a very simple thing. I know the Catholic Church has a way of explaining that, and you kind of hear it and like, no, that kind of makes sense. But it's not true. Mary was not a perpetual virgin. First, she would have been disobedient in her role as wife to Joseph. That's not the idea of marriage. To be a perpetual virgin, that's not God's design of marriage. But also, it just, that's one thing. And then it's not, where did all these children come from? I think it's at least 2 sisters and then 3 or 4 brothers that she had. So where did they just come from? I mean, unless she was just a continual perpetual virgin and all these kids, but that doesn't make any sense either. So very, very interesting there. And so verse 18, then answered the Jews and said to him, what signs showest thou? And then we've moved on. I believe he's still in the temple, but we had this, gotta block this on again. There we go. So paragraph change. Jews are questioning, what signs showest thou unto us, seeing that thou doest these things? Why are you doing these things? Why should we believe you? Jesus answered and said unto them, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will rise it up. I'm sorry for making him yell. I'm not sure how he probably was soft-spoken here. Then said the Jews, 46 years was his temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? But he spake of the temple of his body. Very interesting. When therefore he was risen from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this unto them. They believed the scripture and the word which Jesus had said. So even though, throughout John and the other gospels, it says that they believed in him, like here in verse 11, it says they believed on him. There was some learning that made that believed even more true. As much as Jesus said, oh yeah, we believe, but they didn't totally understand what he would actually fulfill. So that's why it's important here when in verse 22, when therefore he was risen from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this unto them, and they believed the scripture and the word which Jesus had said. So interesting. Verse 23, now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover and the feast day, many believed in his name when they saw the miracles which he did. What miracles? What miracles did he do there? So that's interesting. That's I need to pick out a different adjective there, but curious. I mean, what other miracles? It's not mentioned here, and it's not important for the narrative of the story. So, and that brings up another thought as we go along here. The word believe, believed, or believeth, used 2 times in chapter 2. How many times in chapter 1? It's used 3 times in chapter 1. All right, verse 24, and we finish up chapter 2. Wow. But Jesus did not commit himself unto men, because he knew all men, and needed not that any should testify of him, for he knew what was in man. So Jesus being the shown here as the Son of God. The narrative of this story shows him not needing man's assistance. The other gospel shows him as man being needful in state, just like we are. But John gives he's a son of God. He doesn't need help. He is God. He can handle it. So pretty cool stuff. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Let me know if this is interesting. We're going to keep doing it anyways, but let me know, and we'll talk at you later. Bye.